Hello, everyone. This is Aura Canada, and now we have the chance to speak with Julie Dzerowickz. She is MP for Davenport. Thank you, Julie, for the opportunity to speak about Canada Post and the Canadians receiving mail. Recently, some flyers were delivered with information citing you as the responsible for closing those mailboxes. And as far as I know, that's not true.
Well, so I'll say two things. One is I'm the daughter of a Canada Post worker, Sylvia. So my dad sorted mail for almost 30 years. He used to go down to, Bay in front. There used to be a big Canada Post building there, and he went there every single day. And I think he was very proud of his work at Canada Post. So personally, I'm a big supporter of Canada Post. And I'll say to you, Canada Post has been around for 150 years, and our federal government wants them to continue to be around for 150 years. But here's the trick. What's happened is, the way we communicate now has changed. 20 years ago, there used to be 5 billion pieces of mail. So we used to it's how we sent letters and it's how we communicated with each other. But now we do everything online or text, or through social media, Facebook, we don't really get mail. So on average now, the average Canadian gets 2 pieces of mail a week. And so what happens is it's now the network and the business plan that Canada Post had doesn't work anymore for today. Right now, the Canadian government is giving almost $10 million a day to Canada Post just to keep the lights on and, them paying their employees. And, Canadians are saying, oh my gosh, this is not what we should be doing. We want Canada Post, we want our mail. But it's okay for us to get mail through community mailboxes. So right now, that is what we're saying. Of course, Canadians are going to continue to get their mail. Right now, 77% of Canadians are getting their mail through, their apartment or condo mailboxes or community mailboxes or rural mailboxes. So now what we're saying as a government, we're saying, okay, Canada Post, now you have to come to the 21st century. We have to transition the last of the 23%, but not include rural, remote, or Indigenous communities. That we're excluding. But in our cities, there's no reason why we can't walk up to 500 feet, to get our mail, to get our mail, at community mailboxes, and mail will still be delivered up to 3 times a week.
You are right, Julie. I think I haven't sent a letter in the last 3 years, but there might be some people who would like to receive their mail. What about people with mobility issues? You mentioned the rural and the indigenous communities who really rely on Canada Post to send and receiving mails.
So to me, two excellent questions. One for rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, we're not touching that. Whatever they're having now, they get that. But Sylvia, the other things that's changed in 20 years, places that used to be rural are not rural anymore. Richmond Hill is not rural. Brampton is not rural. These are cities. So those will be transitioned to cities and they will be transitioned to community mailboxes. But the other thing for seniors and those with mobility, very clear message to everyone right now, Sylvia. They will be accommodated, okay? Once there's a transition towards community mailboxes, and that could take up to 9 years, by the way, up to 9 years to happen. But once their community ends up transitioning to community mailboxes, they will receive notification that if they're not able to leave their house, they have no one to help them get their mail, then what they can do is they can telephone or they can actually fill out a form online and say, we need to get our mail delivered to our doors. And what will happen is Canada Post will deliver once a week, once a week. And I think usually it's Wednesdays, but just to let people know that will always be possible, that there will be accommodation for seniors and those with mobility issues, you will be accommodated. But they have to be real. And so, we ask people to make sure that I think part of the process is you have to get a certificate from your medical doctor just to make sure that that's validated. So of course, we want to make sure that our seniors and those with disabilities have access to their mail as well.
And you're so right, things have changed. Just at the beginning of this year, there was 1 billion cash injection, and it's just injecting money back. On the other side, postal workers are anxious about job cuts, hours, and changes.
Do you know what? Thanks for bringing that up. Look, what I bumped into a Canada Post worker, and she said to me, Julie, how come you don't care about the workers? I think the government only cares about management. And I said to them, first of all, the reason the federal government's getting involved in here is because we want Canada to continue to exist. The way it's happening right now, Sylvia, they're not going to be, they're not, right now they are technically broke, okay? Technically broke. I forgot what the formal term is, but I think it's like technically insolvent, they say, okay? So the federal government stepping in, we gave $1 billion to Canada Post in January to keep them going because we want the workers to be paid while we're trying to help them figure out a solution that allows them to stand on their own 2 feet, not take any Canadian taxpayer money, and be sustainable, offer a sustainable model for the future, which includes parcel delivery. Like while we're not getting mail, we're getting more and more parcels to our door. But let me tell you one other thing our government did. Our federal government, our Minister of Procurement and the Minister in charge of Canada Post, his name is Joel Lightbaum, Minister Lightbaum. He went to Canada Post and he says, look, Canada Post management, I am looking in 45 days for a game plan, a business plan that is going to make sure you are sustainable and that you are um, just becoming more efficient. So basically, that efficiency is we're looking for cuts to management, cuts to head offices, and we're not looking for there to be a trimming of employees. We want as many employees as to continue to keep their jobs. They might be transitioned to different things like maybe parcels as opposed to mail. I'm not sure what the model is, but I think that we have asked Canada Post the management to very much look at that. We said the federal government is going to be cutting our costs, our operating costs by 15%. We're looking at that for other crown corporations that are tied to the government. Um, and what else did we add? Just to let you know, we got a message last week that there's already been a cut of 20% of managers, 20%. So some of them have lost their jobs, and some of it is just they're not going to fill jobs that are empty. Okay, so about 20% of management. We don't have an exact number, but that's the approximate. So I want everybody to know, absolutely, everybody's going to play a role in this. And please, please, we know Canadians love the Canada Post. We also know Canadians want to make sure that we have a sustainable Canada Post that makes sense, that meets our needs in the 21st century.
Well, everybody here in Canada, we would love to see Santa Claus coming to our
Yes.
country. We have,
Yes.
like, the kids are a little bit worried about that. Small businesses, they live and die by predictable shipping. So you mentioned that this is going to be a transitional plan. It's not going to happen right now this Christmas.
100%. So the transition that's to community mailboxes. What I have heard is it'll take up to 9 years to actually transition the rest of the 23%. But Sylvia, you brought up Christmas. I know we're all thinking about it. I love Christmas, so I think about it as well. Look, I think that the minister started working on this and announcing this in September because we're hoping everything will get settled way before the holiday season. Our small businesses, as you know, because of the uncertainty and the unpredictability of the tariffs that President Trump has imposed on us, and the new way international trade is happening, our small businesses are really struggling. So we want to make sure that there is a Canada Post service that is strong, that is active, that everybody's happy to be working. Once we get to December and Christmas, posts, Christmas cards and packages are being sent. Now, the other good news, in addition to hearing the layoffs, we've also heard that Canada Post management and Cup W, which is the unions, are slated to go back to the bargaining table with a mediator very shortly. And that is, I think, very good news for all of us.
Without a doubt. And another issue, well, we have good news. Soraya Martínez Ferrada, ex ministra federal de Turismo, es ahora alcaldesa electa de Montreal. And that's so good news, Jolie.
Felicidades! This is what I say to her. And I wrote her a message this morning. I texted her and I said, Felicidades, your worship, Soraya Ferrada Martinez. And so that is what they called your worship, the mayor. And I'm very proud of her. I think she is an inspiration, not only to the Latin American and Hispanic community in our country, but to all Canadians. And so I just am so proud of her. I told her I would be in Montreal before the end of January, and I look forward to seeing her when I'm there.
Muchísimas gracias, como siempre. Thank you so much, Julie. And congratulations a Soraya Martínez Ferrada. Muchísimas gracias por la oportunidad.
Gracias a usted. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.